Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm seeing if I can lure people in on time with my voice. I do want to just say thank you very much for your patience with my voice. I'm just going to tell a side story while I'm waiting for people to come in. I came back from Brussels last Thursday, a week ago today. And when I landed and got off the flight, and I was actually on the flight with our finance minister, and I got off the plane from the EU Parliament, and I had lost my voice completely. I had a very, very exotic Belgian chest infection. It comes with free chocolate, I've heard. Haven't received that yet. But I lost my voice and I couldn't say anything. And I was comparing a conference on last Friday and I squeaked. So you may have noticed if you were here yesterday that at the end of the day, I let out a squeak. I'm going to tell you probably before we get to the end of today, there's going to be a squeak or two. That is why I've managed to get through the last 2 days with some voice, which is excellent. But I'm just going to keep talking and giving you some announcements as we're wanting everybody to come back in. I'm going to do that regular request, please, ladies and gentlemen. We have 2 panel discussions and some closing remarks today. And I'm just going to ask if everybody at the back, if everybody at the back, please, could move forward a little bit. Please, I'm going to be very sort of, look at these blue eyes, please. So if you're sitting in the back side, I see a squeak there. If you're sitting at the back, just if you can just come up and come forward, that's it. This gentleman's doing it. You deserve, oh no, we've had lunch, there's no more muffins. Anybody who's at the back, move forward. Let me explain why. Because we've got some great panel discussions. You don't have to come right to the front. Just come a couple of rows forward because it's so much better. The atmosphere is so much better. We're going to have some Q&A. And our guys want to make sure they get their steps, but they don't want to die. So please just come forward. I really appreciate that. But it does make a huge difference to the people that are sitting on the stage. And as I said, this afternoon we have 2 excellent panel discussions and some closing remarks, and I want to make sure that everything that happens. So you guys that are standing at the back there, come forward, my friends. Come forward. You guys at the back row there, just come forward. Do me a favor, you look lovely. Just come forward a bit. That's it, you guys there, just come forward a bit. As you come in, just come forward. There's no need to sit at the back. That's it, this voice is going to go. My Belgian chest infection is taking effect. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I also want to let you know, to remind you about your CPE hours. CPE, is that right? I've got this right? Can someone say that's right? You got an email, thank you very much indeed, lady in blue, you get a free muffin. You got an email regarding the CPE hours. You need to go back onto that email, scan your QR code, and follow that route where it takes you. I have absolutely no idea what that means, but I'm going to trust the message. CPE hours, go onto the email that you were sent, scan that QR code, and that's how you can redeem your CPE hours. All right, the other thing, ladies and gentlemen, as I mentioned, we've got 2 panel discussions this afternoon. You will be wearing a badge on your lanyard here. On the back, I've said this before, on the back you've got a QR code. That QR code is going to take you directly to our app. I have to say the app has been brilliant. It's fantastic. Not only is it telling you what's going on, but it's also got all the information about the speakers as well. These absolutely fantastic speakers who are just here. So I think that's all that there is from me. My name is Trudy Kerr. I'm going to guide you through the rest of the afternoon. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on the home stretch of 2 amazing days at FinanceMalta, our 18th annual conference. But before we go any further, I have some messages for you.
Money-based business is a powerful solution for local and international businesses. Powered by an award-winning technology. Manage all your company finances from a single platform. Our promise is to open your business account within 48 hours. Create multiple wallets and set payment approval flows for different users. Make global payments. And manage your company's liquidity via a wide range of investments, including bonds, treasury bills, funds, stocks, and ETFs on 40 exchanges. Our real-time reporting helps you save time so you can focus on running your business. As always, we support you 7 days a week with our ISO-certified human customer service team by phone or live chat. Apply now on moneybase.com.
I'm Giovanni Cunti, the CEO Europe of Gate. We set our operations here in Malta in 2018, and since there we've been steadily growing. We acquired our VFA license. After that, we acquired our MiCA license literally in the last few months, and this is where we are going to plan to run all our operations for Europe. Why Malta? Malta provide everything in one place. They were the first one to provide a crypto-friendly environment back in 2018. There was all surrounding services, ancillary support that grew with us in time. A regulator really looking to help us to engage, to challenge, and all ancillary services that could allow us to grow here. I encourage everyone to come here to Malta. This is the place where you want to run your crypto business. Thank you very much to FinanceMalta for the opportunity. It's entities like that that will help the growth of this country.
And I want to take a moment to say thank you to Gate, as well as all of our sponsors that have made this event happen. Without them, it wouldn't be possible. And a huge thank you to Kalamata Kashkari, Moneybase, who have been the main sponsor. And, ladies and gentlemen, if you're feeling well-fed and I want to say lubricated, then that means that you have enjoyed the sponsorship of Boston Link. Thank you so much to them as well. So now to our penultimate panel, titled Fueling Growth, Attracting and Supporting Financial Services Investment in Malta, moderated by Dr. Jochen Beudemann, Managing Director, World Alliance of International Financial Centers. I welcome you to the stage to introduce your guests. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a warm welcome.
Trudy, thank you very much for the kind introduction, and I hope you've noticed I've complied already. I came to the front as much as possible, and let me also invite my fellow panelists to come to the front. Let me start with Geraldine Spiteri-Lucas, CEO of Malta Business Registry. And continuing with the ladies, Alison McAuliffe, the CEO of Malta Development Bank. Welcome. George Grigori, the CEO of Malta Enterprise. And Garrett Jenner, the CEO of TrustStamp. And last but definitely not least, we will come to this, Alfred Summit, the Director of the Financial Intelligence Analysis Unit. So we will explore Malta's efforts to attract and sustain investment in financial services, and we will also examine how the agencies, regulators, and also the private sector collaborates to position Malta as a high-quality and business-friendly jurisdiction for those who doesn't know this yet. So I think it should be well known, but nevertheless. Maybe, Garrett, I can start with you. Let's start with the private sector and with an entrepreneur, if you don't mind. Your company provides AI-powered identity solutions and was founded in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, headquartered in Atlanta in the US. And since January 1st, you're publicly traded at NASDAQ. Market capitalization around $20 million US dollars. So this is quite impressive. So, and your company also has significantly increased the revenues this year. So my congratulations. Why you have set up a subsidiary here in Malta, and what is your business here?
Well, thank you. Back in 2020, so we're talking, of course, the big COVID year, we were looking to expand into both Europe and Africa. I was speaking at a conference in London, and Brian Camilleri from Malta Enterprise heard me speak, asked for an introduction, and immediately presented why Malta was the ideal gateway if we were looking at Europe and Africa. I came over to visit, and it was incredibly impressive, because Malta Enterprise had worked out who I needed to speak to, which agencies I needed to interact with, and had everything set up. Now, bear in mind, this is the week the country closed down. I think I was on the last plane out of Malta. Nonetheless, while everybody else seemed to stop business completely, Malta Enterprise made it clear that they wanted to move ahead with this. And the plan was for the day after the country reopened for me to return and open the office here. And that's what we did. Everybody else had closed down. Malta said, let's get this done. It's a great opportunity to do something. And by putting me in front of every agency I needed to relate to, it made us confident about the way this would work, the relationships we'd have here. Primarily in Malta, we run it as a research and development center, working on biometric and cryptographic research. But as a result of introductions by the Malta government, Trust Out Malta now has a subsidiary in Rwanda. It now has a subsidiary in Denmark. The Danish subsidiary now has a subsidiary in Japan. All of that has grown out of the Malta operation.
This is really impressive. So then you can tell us firsthand what is your experience with Malta as a jurisdiction and dealing with all the agencies which help you.
I have an interesting story on that in the last 2 weeks, which is we have a new product we're launching in January and wanted to ensure that it didn't require licensing, whether under MICA or US regulations. I reached out to the MFSA and requested a call here. I had the call the same day, was invited to email that day, got an acknowledgement that day, and within 4 days had a substantive conversation. I emailed the SEC in the United States and got a message, our email box is full.
Try again later.
Try again later.
Let me continue with you, Geraldine. Business registry, of course, they serve a special purpose. And at best, there's a smooth, fast, and efficient business registration process. And you're well known that this works very well here in Malta. Is it still a differentiating factor, or is it simply a must? Okay.
So I believe having efficiency within the registration process is no longer a nice to have. It is expected from every competitive jurisdiction, of course, including Malta. Having said that, it's important that at all stages we are being efficient. So at company incorporation, yes, in fact, we have a record this year that we incorporate companies within a few hours, as long as they are in accordance with law, etc. However, also post-registration, it's also important for companies to keep their ongoing obligations in accordance with the Companies Act, and also for the MBR to make the process as business-friendly as possible in order for companies to be able to keep up with all their obligations. Needless to say, it cannot just be the business registry on its own. So there are various other entities with whom we cooperate a lot, including Malta Enterprise, Tax Department, MFSA, MGA. So it's important that for every jurisdiction, everyone who is on board is offering an efficient service.
Yeah, and then I read about you have launched an online platform which is powered by blockchain technology. I was really excited to read about this. So can you tell us a little bit more on this one?
Yeah. Yes, so we've been now 2 years using this new technology on blockchain. We gave it a name as well, it's Baros. So through the system, we've noticed a lot of improvement and a lot of practitioners and companies are using. So if I mention some statistics, during the past 10 months, we had 25,000 users accessing this platform, from company search, filing of documentation, payment of penalties. So we had a lot of movement in that regard. Also, we have processed 3,000 digital signatures. So we offer a qualified digital signature, which is a signature equivalent to a wet signature, it is recognizable across the board, both within EU and outside the EU, and including in Malta and the law courts. Also, we have processed 100,000 documents online only, because we've processed another 150 manually. However, through the online system, we've managed to prove that we are being more also efficient in relation to online filing. We haven't stopped there, so together with the practitioners and various associations that we meet from time to time, we are enhancing our system to make it more business friendly. So for example, we have identified an issue that there is an issue when there is a change in shareholders, share transfers, because the investor needs to first go to the commissioner for tax and then comes with the documentation to the MBR. We have cooperated with the MTCA, and now we are going to launch really soon a common platform whereby this process can be done. Also, we have also identified that the annual filings are proving to be a little bit difficult for the MBR employees to process. So for that end, we have awarded a tender some weeks ago whereby we are going to use AI in order to process financial statements. So there still be the manual intervention. However, wherever we are finding a means of how AI and technology can help us with being more efficient, we are going for it, basically.
Thank you very much. Alfred, let me come to you. And business registries is probably also an important tool for your work. Of course, one of many. You run the Financial Intelligence Analysis Unit. And less than 2 months ago, I had the pleasure of moderating a panel at Cybos on anti-financial crime. Of course, anti-financial crime has many different pillars, but your work is definitely one of them. By the way, Bernice Buttigieg from FinanceMalta was one of the panelists, and we talked a little bit about all the achievements of different financial centers in that respect. And was really impressive to see the improvements, because some jurisdiction had issues and managed to resolve them quickly. So how does your work at the Financial Intelligence Analysis Unit affect attracting international foreign financial institutions?
Thank you very much for that question. And before just answering that question, I would like to say yes, the business registry is a very important partner to us, and it is one of our favorite tools in our day-to-day work. So I also want to thank Geraldine and her team for all the hard work that they're doing. As we all know, anti-financial crime and anti-money laundering is becoming increasingly topical across the globe. So it's not only in Europe, but it is something that is worldwide, with increases in the international expectations, in the international standards. And as we all know, countries are continuously being monitored by various bodies, such as the FATF and Moneyval as well. So, of course, what we do does have an impact on Malta's ability to attract foreign investment and foreign financial institutions. Why? Because, well, very simply put, if a financial institution comes to Malta to set up business and operations here in Malta, financial crime, anti-financial crime is going to be a very important part of the day-to-day work that they are going to be carrying out, because of course it is very important for them to have good controls in place to make sure that their services are not being misused by anyone who has bad intentions. So obviously then we are responsible for carrying out that work. We are responsible for engaging with financial institutions in Malta. We are responsible for providing guidance to financial institutions in Malta. And while we often talk about anti-financial crime and anti-money laundering, it can be quite challenging, to actually implement very good controls. So it is really important for financial institutions to have a good understanding and to receive any input that they need from the authorities. In fact, for example, and I can give different examples. So first of all, we're seeking to be incredibly risk-based. So, of course, we don't want to burden entities in Malta unnecessarily. So we have been working increasingly hard to be more fine-tuned in our risk-based approach, which means identifying areas of higher risk and devoting more resources to them, and lessening our interactions with reporting entities where the risk is lower. And when I say of increasing our interactions, this is not only in terms of carrying out, for example, examinations, but it is also in terms of providing guidance, understanding where the sector needs guidance, making sure that we do provide that guidance in a very timely manner. I was listening to your example before, where it's also very similar with us, where we receive queries on a daily basis. So I think in this day and age, it is very clear to everyone that that the jurisdiction needs to have a very strong anti-money laundering framework in place, and that the authorities that are involved in AML, and of course it is very important to know that the FIU is not the only authority involved in AML in Malta, because we work very closely with other authorities, including the Malta Financial Services Authority, including the Malta Business Registry, the Malta Gaming Authority, that we are all working in sync, in harmony, and also ensuring that whoever is operating in Malta is receiving the service that they deserve from the authorities.
So does it pay off for Malta to be a little bit more tough on AML?
So it's important to make a distinction between AML and ML. So I think it is very important for every jurisdiction to be incredibly tough on money laundering, which is a crime. When it comes to anti-money laundering, this is an area where obviously there are differences in how jurisdictions approach AML. So what are they doing with the sector to ensure that sectors are applying proper anti-money laundering controls? And this is where you will see differences. I think rather than using the word tough, I would say let us be serious.
Diligent.
Let us be diligent. Let us make sure that we are all pulling the same rope, and that we have good controls in place, because it pays. It pays in many ways. It pays because at an entity level, obviously entities are making sure that to the greatest extent possible, their services and their products are not being misused. And obviously we all know that every service, every product carries some risk, so it's important to have good measures in place. And then at a more macro level, this collective effort by industry and by authorities together also helps safeguard the reputation of a jurisdiction, which in turn also continue to drive attractiveness.
I have many more questions for you, including whether you will travel more often to Frankfurt. But let's maybe talk with Alison and George before, and then come back to you a little bit later. George, Malta Enterprise supports the growth of tech and fintech companies, in particular those who provide innovative solutions also for the financial sector. Can you elaborate a little bit on your approach, how you support them, how you help them, and how you showcase the unique advantages of Malta?
Well, I think Gareth is probably a great example. In fact, maybe our response times are not 24 hours like MFSA, but as soon as we are a foreign direct investment entity, the government's foreign direct investment, so as soon as we see either someone showing interest in the country, or we're out there and we see innovation, I think now innovation is becoming key in every sector that we operate in. Maybe before people remember Malta Enterprise as being the entity that's looking for employing people. We had a crisis in the unemployment sector, in every sector in unemployment, and the idea was bring business in because we need to employ people. Today we've gone full circle where we're at full employment, and innovation is coming in. So we clearly look at innovation and ensure that we support any innovative company. And I think this is where Malta Enterprise has its own schemes, like we've assisted Trust Stamp in their own right, and played an important role in their journey, and continue to be following them in their journey. I mean, we were just having a discussion, 2-3 weeks ago, on to see where we can assist more. So apart from assisting from a financial perspective, I think we also assist in ensuring that each and every entity meets the right people. We have people coming in investment services come to us, okay guys, this is something, there's a regulator, we'll take you to whichever regulator in that area. So I think the nice thing about this country as well is it's small and its agility. So, and we reflect that as an entity. You've probably could have knocked on the wrong door, or you've knocked at this door and we can assist, but there's all this. And then I think that is where the magic of the Maltese ecosystem happens, where that as soon as you, and again, Gareth is an experience, as soon as you hit an entity, whichever it is, whether it's Malta Enterprise, MBR, then our tentacles start to spread and create the magic. From my experience, again, as soon as someone does visit Malta, interacts with entities, they find the process. We as well, even probably I used to think that we think we're bureaucratic. But coincidentally, and this happened in the last 2 months, I had 2 conferences, and there's actually a famous influencer who, I can't remember his name, but my children know him, so looked at me and they said, in this country, it's amazing. You are so efficient and so effective. And I looked at him, are you serious? And he said, yes. I told him, from where do you come? I won't mention the country, but and likewise, someone told me, you know, we come to this country and we find there's little bureaucracy. Now, we know there's bureaucracy we need to improve. We always need to improve, as Geraldine said. But again, because we're small, agile, we can get you access to wherever is required. So I think it's a whole complex of things where Malta Enterprise can assist in the funding, but take you to the journey wherever you need to go.
I also have my 2 stories where I will say I will not mention the country. One, and this I really like that you stay in contact with the companies even after they have decided to come to Malta and have established. So I know jurisdiction where this is not the case, and company has started complaining about this. So sales done and then forget about this. And also you're well known. Another country, the Prime Minister said recently, we have a development agency. I haven't heard of them before, right? So what's the surprise that something like this exists, right? So, of course, every case is unique. Every country who decides to come to Malta is unique. But what are maybe the 1, 2, 3 points which make them come from your point of view? It's not only tax, right?
I think tax, obviously, as always, plays an important role, and maybe their first inkling is, let me go and see what's happening in tax. But I think what really attracts them is our agility and our smallness. We see our smallness as actually a hindrance, but our smallness makes us agile. I meet Geraldine on a regular basis. We have an issue, we meet, we see, okay, we can solve that. We have a client, meet Alison, having a meeting next Monday. Thankfully, I don't interact much with Alfred. But I think it's our agility, and our agility then comes to another part, our stickiness. So when someone hits this island, they tend to stay. Now, so yes, there are situations where we see people leaving the island either because of growth or because of closures or whatever. But I think more often than not, whenever an investor has come to Malta, they stay here, and they stay here for a long time. Malta Enterprise has clients that have been with them for 60 years and more.
Wow. On one hand, I sense you love your job. And second, I really feel enticed to start something on Malta, so I have to think about this. Alison, let me come to you, last but not least. How is a Malta Development Bank using European financing, so either from the European Investment Bank or from the European Investment Fund, their guarantees, to channel affordable finance to Maltese SMEs?
So the Malta Development Bank, one of its kind in Malta, because we are not a commercial bank, we have the possibility to tap in European Investment Bank financing. We have a 30 million sustainable finance agreement with them, which we can channel through lending to sustainable investments, be it waste management, be it education, be it a foundation who is doing socially impact.
Yeah. Blue economy, perhaps?
Blue economy as well, but we don't have such a project as yet, so yes.
Call to everyone.
Yes, so that is on one side. On the other side, there is also the European Investment Fund. There we have launched this year schemes to SMEs with the biggest commercial banks in Malta. So they are managed through them. And these are backed by guarantees. So the investment or the loan is backed by guarantees through the European Investment Fund under the InvestEU program, but as well through us. And we created a mechanism where the bank, the commercial bank, is more at ease to lend to these companies to have the transformation for the sustainability going into force more quickly, and to compare ourselves as well with maybe countries who are more ripe or more mature in the sense, who are already at the forefront there. So we're catching up. This means that for SMEs, they have guaranteed finance. They could have maybe a bit of a longer term for their financing instead of shorter ones, and maybe less collateral. And maybe, of course, as well, the commercial bank could give a lower interest rate because the risk is less. So where the risk appetite of the commercial banks is not there or is not fully there, we combine our resources together to go to the market and, so to say, I call it serve the unserved.
I have another question for you, but maybe heads up to the audience. After that questions, I'll open up to the floor. So think about the question you have and look at my fellow panelists. They all look very relaxed, so you should have some tough questions for this. I seem to have failed, but maybe I count on you. Edison, you cannot work directly with SMEs or with companies. You need to go via commercial banks. How does it work?
Yes, we sign agreements, like risk-sharing agreements, and through schemes we operate through other banks, so the SMEs can continue working with their private bank. If this private bank has access to our scheme, then they can tap in this type of credit, so to say.
Are there any questions? I'm looking around. There's one, please.
This is a question regarding, for example, applications and creations of new companies, right? Could it be the possibility, let's say, for example, a new industry comes in? Does it make it more difficult due to, for example, being a new industry, for example, or maybe new ways of working? And does it take a longer process, or maybe is it valued differently due to its newness into the Maltese market?
Who wants to?
In general, I mean, as in...
If we want to start, and I take it from a registry perspective, no, it will not hinder or lengthen the process depending on the industry. What lengthens the process from our side is most of the time not using a company service provider. And to explain this, so in Malta we do not have the restriction that a company needs to be registered by, say, a notary or a company service provider. Anyone can come to the registry now online and do a company and incorporate a company. However, if there is no company service provider involved in the incorporation of that company, we need to do the due diligence, so to speak, ourselves as a registry, because we are a supervisory authority in terms of the PML FTR. And therefore, we will ask as a registry for much more documentation, like utility bill, residence cards. There's a whole list, police conduct, that we ask additionally to the new investor.
Does this answer your question?
No, I mean from all departments, as in from the panel, as in what they all think. As in.
Again, from our end, I would say we're industry agnostic. There are certain sectors that, through legislation, we do not operate in. But again, the way the world is going, the way innovation is going, and the way things are going, even those lines start to be really, really blurred, and where we can assist. But rest assured, we're open for business. We look at any business. And if it's something that is interest us, we'll definitely run with it. It is something. I mean, again, I keep using Garrett. It's probably Garrett was the first foray for us in that sector, and from there we'll take it on and run.
Alison, you want to add anything?
We finance that which is within our legislation. Of course, we do not go in speculation. And we are not there to do the work of commercial banks. We are there to complement them. We are there to do that little part, that little extra part that will help the financing be made easier for the borrower. So, and we mainly are there not for profit, but to help the country evolve. Nowadays, of course, sustainable, technologically, and in the eyes of what the country wants for the future.
While you're thinking about whether you want to ask another question, at least I don't see a hand yet, let me ask you, and I think in particular the three of you just responded, let us look a little bit behind the scenes, if we can. Do you meet regularly, maybe, I don't know, monthly or bi-weekly or so, and exchange ways how you can collaborate even better in serving Malta, or is it emails going back and forth? So how does it work?
Maybe I can jump in. Probably I'd say that there are different groups of authorities and entities that collaborate immensely closely. So probably it would like a Venn diagram when you where the draw is. For example, in our part, the FIU, we're communicating daily. I'm really, very, very open and honest about this. It's practically daily communication happening with all the relevant authorities that have a role to play in protecting Malta's financial crime framework in general. So, for example, Geraldine is here on the panel with us. We have constant communications with the MBR. We even exchange information. For example, if I can give one very important example, which is of relevant to the audiences. As we all know, of course, we all have our different roles and responsibilities as authorities. So the FIU's focus is on ensuring oversight on anti-money laundering matters. The MBR is also carrying out supervisory work. The MFSA is also carrying out supervisory work. So we also need to coordinate together to try and ensure as much as possible a smooth experience for our entities in Malta. Because it happened in the past, that communication has improved a lot. So in the past, it wasn't as where it is today. So there were instances where, for example, we carried out back-to-back inspections. This is not a very enjoyable experience. So we've obviously got together now and working much more closely to make sure that as much as possible we try to avoid, for example, overlaps or back-to-back inspections. So we're sharing a lot more information. We're using each other's information as well. So, of course, that's just one example, but it's the same with the Malta Financial Services Authority, it's the same with the Malta Gaming Authority, where there is this constant dialogue, either in the form of emails or meetings or working groups. So I can tell you behind the scenes, it's very lively. It's very active and very busy.
Sounds really interesting. Probably there's one restaurant, and if you want to meet all of you, you need to go there, and then you can get everything solved in one place. No, thank you very much. Are there further questions? Come on, we want to do this interactive. Where is it? I cannot see the hand, but if the lady with the microphone can see it, I'll follow. No? Doesn't seem to be the case. Then let me go on with my question. Alfred, I've promised I'll come back to you on your important work. Of course, AI has now a big impact, right? So you probably get a lot of messages from the commercial banks and other providers, other service providers, and they use AI to reduce the false positives. so that you don't have too much work. But it's a delicate issue, right? So I don't know how it works here in Malta, but I know from other jurisdictions, some banks tend to send almost everything. So send to the financial intelligence unit, then we have done our work. And then, they're flooded with messages. In other jurisdictions, not much coming. It's reported. So how does it work here? Is it right? So are you happy with the banks?
So yes, I mean, first of all, and not only with the banks, but of course, all reporting entities are reporting to the Financial Intelligence Analysis Unit. So in the financial sector and even in the non-financial sector. So first of all, we have quite a good spread of reporting. Yes, there's always room for improvement. There are some sectors that could probably do a little bit more reporting. But in general, I would say we are very pleased. So we have our top 3 reporting sectors are the crypto industry, the gaming industry, and the financial institutions operating in Malta, followed then by the banks, by the actual credit institutions. So, and in terms of numbers, just to give an idea, we're approximately, receiving around 10,000 suspicious transaction reports per year. So it's quite active. And I think it's quite a reasonable number as well when you look at the size of the jurisdiction and you look at the customer bases that our institutions are serving in Malta. There's always room for improvement, and this is one of the areas where we work very closely with reporting entities. I wouldn't describe Malta as one of those jurisdictions where reporting entities are simply firing off reports, just to say they did their part. So we've been working closely with industry to try and find the right balance. So, we're not interested really in receiving suspicious reports involving 10 euros or 100 euros, unless there is a really strong suspicion, possibly, involving terrorism financing, which is a bit of a different subject. So I think we do not suffer from that issue. I know many jurisdictions. I'm an assessor myself. I've done evaluations of other countries, and it can be a real problem because you end up wasting a lot of time, looking for a needle in a haystack, which is something that we need to avoid. So I think we're in a good place. When it comes to AI, very interesting topic. It is obviously growing in importance. It is coming more and more into our lives. It's affecting us in many ways. It's affecting us in terms of it is being misused, of course, like everything else. That has, you can use anything in a good way and in a bad way. So yes, AI is affecting us in different ways. It is being used in a very good way by reporting entities to become better at spotting suspicious activity that they are then reporting to us, and we need to also learn more and keep ourselves up to date and understand better how it works in practice. We've actually traveled and sat down with institutions, Maltese institutions who are engaging foreign service providers to implement AI, and we've traveled together with them and had collaborative meetings to provide support, to understand, to learn at the same time and provide feedback. So it's really growing, and we are sort of pro-technology. So I mean, it's very simple. The way I see it is AI, we can't escape it. So we have to learn how to live with it and how to use it in the best way possible. And we need to be careful, yes, because it comes with risks. So we need to make sure that we are using it in the right way. And especially, for us as an authority, we need to make sure that whatever we're doing with the information that we have at our hands, we're not that we're protecting it and we're not disclosing information unintentionally to anyone who shouldn't have access to it. So yes, that's our view.
Maybe allow me a follow-up question. In which way, Malta, of course, is a small place. So the suspicious transaction you receive, it's very likely maybe one leg is outside of Malta, right? So maybe it's a money transfer, and one side is in Malta and one is outside. So if your banks and other reporting entities use AI, how you can learn, how you can train those AI to, see the holistic picture. You need to have a data exchange, with other EU countries, for instance, or even beyond. Is that something you work with the other authorities, the central bank, and so on?
Absolutely. So within the context of international cooperation, AI is not being used yet, right now. Internationally, but intelligence units like us are constantly sharing information. And it happens in 2 ways. Either it's upon request, so we receive a request and we reply to it, or it happens spontaneously. And this is one area that we are very cooperative in this regard. One can have a look at our annual report, and the statistics speak, they speak for themselves. where we are constantly sharing information proactively with other jurisdictions. So if we receive a suspicious report in Malta concerning, I don't know, a Swedish national, we will then make sure that if it is indeed a relevant case, if there is enough suspicion, we will share that information with our Swedish counterparts. It is worth also noting that this is actually a requirement. It is a legal requirement for us to do so. And also, before you mentioned Frankfurt and AMLA, the new EU Anti-Money Laundering Authority, you know, it is all the more important that we continue strengthening international cooperation in this regard, because when it comes to money laundering, it is truly something that takes place cross borders. I've hardly ever come across a good case of money laundering where it was entirely, based in one country alone, and that there was no cross-border element.
Any further question? Maybe the lunch was too much. Garrett, let me come back to you. A little bit provocative. Is there anything when you decided to start here you should have asked George and you forgot to ask?
It's an interesting question. I think a question that was in our mind, which is difficult to ask, is continuity. You have wonderful meetings. Are you ever going to see these people again? We're now in 11 countries, and a number of those countries did a very good job of enticing us in, and virtually none of them had any follow-through. And so we didn't ask the question, but I was cynical. It was, I hear this, and this is all wonderful, and I'll probably bump into you sometime in the future. But that hasn't been how it is. And so I think that companies that are looking to move anywhere should ask about that follow-through. What is the support we're going to get if we come to your country?
George, let me ask you the same question. Is there something newcomers should ask you but forget to ask regularly?
So the opposite, what they should be asking us. Again, I think it is very similar to what Garrett is saying. Listen, how do you take care of your clients? And this is something, again, I met Garrett before I was actually with Malta Enterprise. And my people...
You got a commission for...
After we had come.
And my people, as soon as I joined more than a year ago, ran down a list. Again, they had to be prioritized. But you need to meet all these people. And I can assure you that list is very long. And I'm still going through most of it. But yes, it is the customer-centric way of doing business in Malta. And this is something I try to preach as well continuously, even in my town hall meetings with my people. Listen, the people out there are our customers. We're no different from any service provider out there. They're our customers. We need to keep in contact with them. And again, whenever you keep in contact, whatever conversation you have, there's always something where, I didn't know Malta Enterprise could help in this area. So I think it's keeping in continuous contact. So I think it's asking, what is your customer service like?
Thank you very much. So last call for question. Okay, I give up. Alice, then my last question goes to you. We touched already on the different topics you finance, and you said blue economy, not so much yet. What other topics you would love to finance as Malta Development Bank?
Anything to do with the advancement of the country, being health, technology, advancement, even education, anything which touches the development of the human capital as well, every human being of us. We just launched a scheme yesterday for students as well. So, yes. Infrastructure.
Yeah.
Well needed, no?
And finally, Geraldine, what kind of business you would like to see in your registry?
So, as much business as possible. However, having jokes apart, in previous years we used to focus on numbers, and now we focus more on quality. This is a decision that the jurisdiction took, we should not focus on numbers, but we focus as a registry. I want businesses that have sufficient link to Malta, have base here, have employees, that have substance. Not just to say that we have 100,000 companies on the registry. We need to attract good business with good clients, and that's why we all the authorities, we are continuously in contact with each other to ensure that we reach this goal that we've set as a jurisdiction.
Thank you very much. I think these blinking red numbers in front of us probably should indicate we have to bring it to an end. Please join me giving a big round of applause to our panelists here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna.
I think the main reason was because of regulatory clarity. It was very important as a startup in the fintech industry to look for a jurisdiction that relied on regulatory clarity. And with the enactment of the Virtual Financial Assets Act in Malta, it allowed us to get that clarity we needed to start the business here in Malta. I believe that the key advantages for operating fintech business here in Malta is the talent pool that you'll find here in Malta. Malta has been for decades a financial services hub, and therefore it is quite easy to find talent in the region. Another advantage was the fact that the regulator has had a lot of experience through the Virtual Financial Assets Act that they had enacted years ago. Besides that, we're seeing a lot of big players that are coming to Malta to set up shop here in Malta because they understand the value of a regulator that has held years of experience in this particular sector. I believe as a fintech business, we have really made the right choice in choosing Malta.